Here's to the crazy ones, right? That's what they called us. But let me tell you something. The world doesn't reward dreamers. It rewards winners. And winners aren't born. They're built through pain, through failure, through rejection, and through an almost insane obsession to keep going when everyone else quits. If you've ever wondered what separates those who win from those who almost make it, this is it. You know what separates the winners from the ones who almost make it. It's not intelligence, it's not luck, and it's not talent. It's the courage to face truths that most people spend their entire lives running away from. People want to be comforted. They want to hear that life is fair, that success is just around the corner, that if they keep doing what they're doing, everything will magically work out. But here's the reality. The universe doesn't care about your excuses. The market doesn't care about your story. And the world won't wait for you to figure it out. Winners embrace this truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. When Apple pushed me out of the company I created, I had every reason to blame someone else. I could have pointed fingers at the board, at politics, at betrayal. But if I had done that, I would have stayed stuck. I would have become bitter, resentful, and finished. Instead, I looked in the mirror and accepted a truth that cut deeper than any knife. I wasn't ready. My leadership wasn't sharp enough. My vision was there, but my maturity wasn't. That realization hurt more than the firing itself, but it also gave me power. Because when you take responsibility, you take back control. Most people don't want to do that. They cling to illusions. They tell themselves stories to protect their ego. They say things like, I didn't get the job because the manager didn't like me. I failed because the world is unfair. But every time you say that, you give away your power. You hand your future over to circumstances you can't control. Winners don't do that. Winners strip away the excuses, strip away the noise, and stand face to face with reality, even if it makes them bleed inside. Facing uncomfortable truths is not glamorous. It's painful. It means admitting that you're not as good as you thought you were. It means realizing that your skills aren't enough yet, that your effort wasn't consistent, that maybe your dream didn't fail because the world was against you. Maybe it failed because you weren't prepared enough. That kind of self-honesty destroys most people. But it's exactly that honesty that sets winners apart. Think about it. How do you grow if you don't admit where you're weak? How do you improve if you keep lying to yourself? Winners know that the fastest way to progress is not by protecting their feelings, but by attacking their flaws. They are ruthless with themselves, not because they hate themselves, but because they demand more from themselves than anyone else ever will. When I left Apple, I could have disappeared. But instead, I used that period of my life to build, to learn, to grow. I started Pixar. I built Nexty. And every project, every failure, every mistake forced me to confront more uncomfortable truths about myself. And that's the irony. Those truths, the ones that hurt the most, became the foundation that made me stronger, sharper, and unstoppable when I finally returned to Apple. So if you want to win, stop hiding. Stop sugarcoating your reality. Stop pretending you're doing enough when you're not. The first step to building the mindset of a winner is to rip the bandage off and face the truth you've been avoiding. Maybe you're not disciplined. Maybe you're not consistent. Maybe you're not skilled enough yet. Good. That's your starting point. That's where change begins. Because only when you accept the reality of where you are can you design the reality of where you want to go. And here's the catch. This will never be easy. Your mind will fight you. It will whisper excuses. It will blame others. It will protect your pride. But pride doesn't build empires. The ego doesn't create revolutions. Facing the truth does. That's why winners walk straight into the fire of reality, while everyone else runs the other way. Because in that fire, they are forged into something greater. They know that the truth, no matter how dark, no matter how painful, is always the path to power. And if you can learn to face it, if you can embrace it, you've already taken your first step into the mindset of a true winner. Rejection. It's the one thing people fear the most, but it's also the one thing that every winner learns to embrace. Let me tell you something. If you're not being rejected, you're not trying hard enough. Because rejection isn't proof that you failed. Rejection is proof that you're in the arena, that you're daring to go after something bigger than yourself. When I was raising money for Apple in the early days, most investors didn't just say no, they laughed at us. They didn't believe in two kids building computers in a garage. They didn't believe in our vision. They told us we were crazy, unrealistic, out of touch. And you know what? They were right about one thing. We were crazy. But that so-called craziness is what changed the world. Every no we heard lit a fire inside us. Every rejection fueled our determination to make them regret not believing. Winners don't run from rejection. They convert it into fuel. Most people take rejection personally. They let it crush their spirit. They hear one no and suddenly decide they're not good enough, that maybe their dream isn't worth it. That's why most people stay average, because they let someone else's opinion define their reality. Winners flip that script. When they hear no, they translate it as not yet. They use it as energy to get better, sharper, more relentless. Every door that shuts forces them to knock on another one harder. Think about it. Imagine if I had let rejection stop me. Imagine if I believed the investors who said Apple would never work. Imagine if I accepted the voices that told me to quit after being fired from my own company. There would be no iPhone, no iPod, no revolution in design and technology. None of it would exist. Rejection is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. It is life's way of asking, how badly do you want this? The truth is, rejection is painful. It stings. It makes you doubt yourself. And in that moment, you have two choices. You can let it weaken you, or you can let it harden you into something unbreakable. Winners always choose the second path. They channel rejection into their veins like adrenaline. They turn humiliation into hunger. They use every no as evidence that they are on the right path. Because if everyone agrees with you, if no one doubts you, then you're not pushing boundaries. You're just playing safe. When Pixar was struggling in the early days, I faced rejection after rejection. Studios didn't believe in computer animation. They thought it was a gimmick. They thought it would fail. For years, nobody wanted to take the risk. But we kept going. We kept building, improving, pushing forward. And when Toy Story finally launched, the same people who rejected us lined up to call it genius. That's the cycle of rejection. It always comes before recognition. But only the winners stick around long enough to see it flip. Rejection has another gift hidden inside it. It reveals your resilience. It tests whether you're serious or just curious. Anyone can smile when things go their way. But when the doors slam in your face, when the world tells you you're not good enough, when everything inside you wants to quit, what do you do then? That's where winners are made. In the silence after the no. In the space between failure and comeback. That's where your future is built. Here's the mindset shift: rejection isn't about them. It's about you. It's not about whether they believe in you. It's about whether you believe in yourself enough to keep moving when they don't. Rejection is just feedback, a signal that says, you're not there yet, but keep going. And every time you keep going, you become stronger than the last time. So stop fearing rejection. Stop seeing it as a wall. Start seeing it as fuel, as energy. as the very thing that will shape you into someone unstoppable. Winners don't waste rejection. They consume it, they burn it, and they rise higher because of it. And if you can learn to turn every no into momentum, you'll discover a power inside you that no external validation can ever match. Do you know what most people get wrong about success? They think it's instant. They think it's overnight. They look at someone winning and say, "Wow, they got lucky. They blew up so fast." But here's the reality. Nothing about winning is fast. Nothing about greatness is instant. The world is obsessed with shortcuts, with hacks, with the illusion that success can be microwaved. But winners play the long game. When I started Apple, it wasn't about selling a computer. It was about reshaping the way people would interact with technology for generations to come. That's not something you do in a year. That's not something you do with one product. That's a lifelong game. It's decades of building, failing, learning, and trying again. The iPhone, the iPod, the iMac. People think they just appeared out of nowhere. What they don't see are the years of iteration, the experiments that failed, the late nights that went nowhere, the designs that were never released. That's the long game. The willingness to stay invisible while the world doubts you, and the patience to keep moving forward anyway. Most people can't handle that. They want quick validation. They want applause right now. They want to be seen as successful before they've actually built anything of substance. But here's the truth. Chasing short-term validation is the fastest way to destroy your potential. Winners delay gratification. They're willing to be misunderstood for years because they know the reward isn't in being right today. It's in being undeniable tomorrow. Think about Amazon. Jeff Bezos wasn't trying to win in a year or even 10 years. He built with decades in mind. He played a game that most people didn't even see because they were too focused on their next quarterly result. That's why he built something unshakable. That's the essence of the long game. It requires vision so strong that you're willing to sacrifice the present for the future. When I came back to Apple after being fired, the company was 90 days from bankruptcy. People thought it was over. But I wasn't thinking about saving Apple for a year. I was thinking about what Apple could become over the next 20 years. And that's why we cut the products that didn't matter. That's why we focused on building a handful of insanely great things. Because the long game isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things consistently, with relentless focus, until they become undeniable. Here's the problem: the long game is uncomfortable. It's boring. It feels slow. It demands patience when your ego wants speed. It demands discipline when your mind wants distraction. And that's why so few people play it. But winners embrace the discomfort. They're willing to look foolish in the short term if it means they'll look legendary in the long term. They don't measure success in likes, in quick profits, or in applause. They measure it in impact, in endurance, in the legacy they leave behind. Let me ask you this: are you willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term greatness? Are you willing to keep building when nobody notices? Are you willing to keep showing up when the results don't come fast enough? Because if the answer is no, then you're not playing the winner's game. You're playing the loser's game. Winners invest time, not waste it. They plant seeds they know won't grow overnight. They play a game so long, so big, that when the world finally realizes what they've done, it looks like magic. But it was never magic, it was patience. It was a vision. It was the courage to keep going when everyone else quit. The long game is not for the faint of heart. It's not for those who crave instant results. It's for those who can see beyond today, who can keep pushing when it feels like nothing is moving, who can trust that every step, no matter how small, is building something far greater than what the eye can see. That's why winners win. They're not just playing to be successful this year. They're playing to be remembered forever. The greatest battle you will ever fight will not be against competitors, not against doubters, not against people who try to stop you. The greatest battle will be against yourself, against your own fear, against your own doubt, against that voice inside your head that whispers, "You can't do this. You're not ready. You're not enough." That's the inner war. And until you master it, you'll never win anything that truly matters. I've been there. Nights when I questioned whether I was a fraud. Days when I wondered if everything I built was about to collapse. Moments when the pressure felt unbearable, when the failures felt permanent, when I thought maybe the world was right about me. And let me tell you, those battles were harder than any boardroom fight, any competitive war, any external obstacle. Because the enemy inside you knows exactly where to strike. It knows your weaknesses, your insecurities, your darkest fears. That's why mastering the inner war is the most important lesson any winner must learn. Most people lose this battle before they even begin. They let fear dictate their decisions. They let doubt paralyze them. They let the comfort of mediocrity silence the discomfort of growth. And then they wonder why they never achieve greatness. But winners face the war head on. They don't wait for fear to disappear, because fear never disappears. They don't wait for doubt to vanish, because doubt is always there. They learn to move forward in spite of it. That's the difference. When I was building Apple, there were countless times I thought we were done. Times when the money was running out, when the product wasn't working, when the entire vision felt like it was collapsing. My mind screamed, "Quit, walk away, save yourself." But then another voice whispered, "Keep going, push one more step." And that single step, taken against the weight of doubt, always led to breakthroughs. That's the secret. Winning the inner war doesn't mean silencing the negative voice. It means refusing to obey it. You see, the world will always test you, but the hardest tests are the ones you give yourself. Can you keep showing up when no one believes in you? Can you keep fighting when your own mind tells you it's hopeless? Can you keep sacrificing when comfort is calling your name? Winners answer yes. Not because they don't feel the pain, but because they've trained themselves to fight through it. Let me make this clear. Mastery is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about discipline. It's about having the courage to face your weaknesses without letting them define you. Everyone has fear. Everyone has doubts. The difference is that winners don't let those things drive the car. They strap fear into the back seat and take control of the wheel. They acknowledge the voice of doubt, but they don't give it the final word. When I returned to Apple, the company was falling apart. Every logical voice inside me said, "This is impossible. You're walking into a disaster." But the stronger voice inside me, the one I had trained through years of inner battles, said, "This is your moment. This is your war, and you will win it." That inner conviction was more important than any external support. Because once you master the inner war, no external force can break you. Here's the truth. Most people are not defeated by the world. They are defeated by themselves. They never take risks because their fear wins. They never follow through because their doubt wins. They never endure long enough because their weakness wins. But winners fight until their vision is louder than their fear, until their persistence is stronger than their doubt, until their discipline crushes their weakness. That's what mastery looks like. The inner war never ends. It's not something you conquer once and forget. It's daily. It's relentless. It's every morning when you wake up and decide whether to push forward or retreat. And that's what separates the average from the great. The average person listens to their fear. The winners act despite it. The average stops when it hurts. The winners use the pain as proof that they're on the right path. The average person surrenders to their doubt. The winners turn doubt into fuel. Mastering the inner war is not about living without struggle. It's about learning to thrive in the middle of it. It's about becoming unshakable. Because once you can win against yourself, you've already won against everything else the world can throw at you. So here's the truth. The mindset of a winner isn't built in the spotlight. It's forged in the shadows. It's born in the uncomfortable truths most people run from. It's shaped by the sting of rejection that breaks the weak but fuels the relentless. It's sustained by the patience to play the long game when the world demands instant results. And it's mastered in the inner war, the daily battle between who you are and who you must become. Most people never achieve success because they want it without making sacrifices. They want greatness without struggle. They want the light without having to walk through the darkness. But winners know better. Winners embrace the pain, the rejection, the doubt, the loneliness, the long nights, the inner battles that no one else sees. Because they know that these are not obstacles. They are the training ground. They are the price of entry. When you face the uncomfortable truth, when you turn rejection into energy, when you commit to the long game, and when you conquer the war inside yourself, you stop being ordinary. You stop being fragile. You stop being dependent on anyone else's approval. You become unshakable. And once you are unshakable, nothing, not failure, not rejection, not time, not even your own fear, can stop you from building the future you see in your mind. That is the darkest lesson. That is the hidden power. That is the mindset of a winner.